Diesel's on the line. 8 monitors, 2 paws, 0 days off. Welcome back, Fire family. Let's see what we got. Drop everything, folks. Diesel's Watchtower has breaking news. Breaking news from Diesel's Watchtower. This dog's on it. Out-of-control fire burning hot on Vancouver Island right now, and folks in that zone need to be locked in. This is the kind of fast-moving situation where minutes matter. If you're on the island and haven't checked your evacuation alert status in the last hour, do that now. Wind shifts, fire behavior, it all changes quick. Wildfire Ready's got live alerts and your local evac map ready to go. Ears are up on this one. Stay tight, we're tracking hard as this develops. Drop everything, folks. Diesel's Watchtower has breaking news. Hold the kibble, folks. Breaking news on the wire. British Columbia Wildfire Service is actively hitting multiple small fires popping up around Kamloops right now. That's the interior heating up earlier than we'd like, and crews are moving fast to keep them small before conditions get worse. This is exactly the season where one spark turns into a day-long battle if you're not on it. If you're in the Thompson area, keep your eyes on evacuation alerts and that FWI rating. More as this develops, staying locked on the Watchtower. Drop everything, folks. Diesel's Watchtower has breaking news. Hold the kibble, folks. Breaking news on the wire. The wildfire near Mount Currie is now under control. That's the Squamish area, and crews have got a handle on the spread. Good news for the community up there, but here's what matters right now. Containment's one thing, full extinguish takes time. Folks in that zone should stay alert on evacuation alerts in case conditions shift. This one's a reminder that fire season moves fast, and it can turn just as quick. Stay locked in, we'll have updates as this develops. Hold the kibble, folks. Breaking news on the wire. Heads up, Fire family. Breaking news straight from the Watchtower. Vancouver company just scored $1 million to test cloud seeding tech that could actually suppress wildfires before they blow up. It's experimental, it's bold, and if it works, it changes the game for British Columbia fire season. Real talk though, this is years out from helping your house. What matters right now is the stuff you control today. Defensible space, go bags, knowing your evacuation zone. We'll keep tracking this tech as it develops, but your Fire Smart checklist won't wait. Stay tight, folks. Drop everything, folks. Diesel's Watchtower has breaking news. Tails up, ears wide, we got breaking news on the line. Campfires are banned across BC's south coast right now, and that includes the entire Nanaimo Regional District. Elevated fire danger means zero tolerance for open flames, folks. This isn't just a weekend rule, it's the whole season. If you're camping, grilling, or thinking about a beach bonfire, that's off the table. The chat knows this. One unattended spark in dry conditions turns into a nightmare real fast. Burning restrictions are ramping up everywhere. Stay tight, more as it develops. Tail wag from the watchtower. Diesel reporting. Headsets on, the wire's hot, and I have not been fed yet. Let's get into it. Drop everything, folks. Hey, 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 Diesel at the desk, fully caffeinated, fully unsupervised. Big day on the boards, strap in. Pulling some archival footage from June 7, 2025 here, this one's a cross-border fire situation that shows exactly how fast evacuation orders ripple when a British Columbia wildfire spills into Alberta. This tape captures the reality on the ground when provincial lines don't mean much to flames. Not fresh, but the lesson sticks. Roll the tape.
City of Grand Prairie. CBC's Linda Ward joins us now with the details on this. So Linda, what do we know so far?
Well, Natasha, those gusty winds forcing officials to widen that evacuation order for Grand Prairie County. This is the Kiskatna River fire in BC that is now reaching across the Alberta-BC border and threatening communities there. There are now, we can tell you, 142 residents that are part of this evacuation order.
Watch that smoke column. When a fire is crossing a provincial border like this, evacuation zones expand fast and overlap gets messy. Alberta and British Columbia coordinate, but comms lag by hours sometimes. If you're in that path, don't wait for the official alert to start packing. Get ahead of it.
If we can see the map of this area where this evacuation order is in place, the red is the order, the yellow around it, that's an evacuation alert. And right in the middle there, you'll see Kelly Lake. This is of particular concern to BC Wildfire. This sits right in the middle of the fire's path. A number of people have stayed behind in this community, and it is believed that they are still there. Fire Information Officer Carly DeRosier says so far, though, they have been successful in fighting back the flames.
So we have not seen the fire front itself encroach on the community.
See how fast that fire's moving across the border? That's what happens when your fuel moisture drops below 80% and winds stay steady. Crown fire behavior kicks in, and embers are throwing 3-4 kilometers ahead of the main fire line. Alberta's going to see spot fires pop up miles ahead of where folks think the fire actually is. That's the real danger in a cross-border run like this one.
Working on structure protection, 117 wildfire crews from BC as well as crews from Alberta that are working side by side in order to protect this community. Today, smoke from the north, they say, is going to sort of sit over the area, and that's expected to insulate it, keep the humidity levels high, and help them get the upper hand, get a little bit of a head start on this fire ahead of some more sustained winds that are expected tomorrow, higher temperatures, lower humidity. More evacuation orders have been also issued for Peace
Here's
River
the real gut check.
District,
if you're anywhere near that
north
Alberta
and the
border right
south,
now, your
but
defensible
we
space is
understand
about to
right
get
now
tested
is
hard.
that there are
Clear your
minimal,
gutters, trim branches 6 meters back from your roof, move firewood stacks at least 10 meters away from the house.
No residents impacted.
Embers don't care if they're coming from British Columbia or Alberta, they'll find a tinder pile and light it up in seconds.
Let's talk about a fire that's happening near Fort Nelson, British Columbia. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, and consequently, this is affecting the Dawson Creek, Fort St. John, Fort Nelson area, an area where a number of the evacuees from the Peace River Regional District have been told to go. So this is the Summit Lake fire. This is affecting the Fort Nelson First Nation. They have issued an evacuation order for the Kanta area last night, upgraded an alert as well for the Fontas area to an evacuation
Watch those evacuation
order as
zones
well.
ripple.
In
When a
addition to
fire
this,
straddles the
this
provincial
is,
line like this,
Highway
you've got two
97,
different
the
alert systems
Alaska
firing at
Highway
slightly different times.
Steamboat Hill. This is a
Alberta's
time lapse of
evacuation
about the
orders
last
hit minutes
24
after
hours.
British
You'll know traffic
Columbia's,
gets very
which
light
means
there.
if
That's
you're on the
because they've
Alberta
shut
side
down
waiting for your official
162
notice, you're
kilometers
already
stretch
behind.
of
That's
this
exactly
highway
why
because of
Watchtower
concerns
pushes
of the
cross-border
smoke and the
fire tracking
wildfire
to your
in
phone the
this
second a
area.
fire crosses.
This,
No
Natasha,
waiting for the
is
province
very
to sync
rugged
up.
terrain. There's a lot of fuel and very few fire breaks. This is what is making people very concerned, especially with these gusty winds that are expected to come in and add even more fuel to this fire.
Okay, Linda, thanks so much.
Eyes up, the fire desk has the boards. Connie Lake in British Columbia is sitting at 190 hectares and holding steady under control. That's our headline fire right now. Person caused, which means this one could have been prevented. Webster Creek and Ferriby are both being held or under control too. All three person caused, all in British Columbia. Here's what matters. We're at 25 active fires across Canada, and so far crews are staying ahead of them. But fire season's still ramping. Keep your go bags ready, folks. We're watching the weather pattern shift later this week. That's when things could get spicy. Stick around for the forecast. Pulling some archival footage from August 4, 2025. This isn't today's news, but CBC's National captured something we need to remember. Massive smoke event blanketing Canada that summer, air quality tanking across the country. It's a solid reminder of just how far wildfire smoke travels and hits communities nowhere near the flames. Worth watching how bad it got. Roll the tape.
We'll come to something with the Americans, something constructive with the Americans.
And the soaring cost of a summer staple.
There's no really good substitute for a hamburger or a steak on the barbecue.
Why beef prices are rising so high so quickly.
From CBC News, this is The National with Asha Tomlinson.
Thanks for joining us. Ian is away. Right across the country, Canadians are contending with wildfires this holiday weekend. Some forced out by flames.
Smoke blanketing the whole country like this, that's a national air quality event, folks. When smoke layers stack from British Columbia all the way east, you're looking at high-altitude transport and multiple fires feeding the same smoke column. Check your ACOI before you head outside today. Masks aren't just for show when visibility drops like this.
To New Brunswick. It's creating hazy skies and hazardous conditions for everyone breathing it in. Stephanie Cram starts our coverage tonight with a closer look at the health impacts.
Thompson, Manitoba, choked by smoke.
The air quality was just horrific, and it really looked like dystopia.
Nearby wildfires caused the air quality health index to soar to dangerous levels this weekend in northern Manitoba. A similar scene in Yellowknife and further west in Tlilakwe First Nation in Fort Simpson.
The smoke is still prevalent in the air.
See how fast that smoke's climbing? When relative humidity tanks and afternoon winds kick in like this across the country, you get crown fire behavior, flames jumping from tree to tree instead of creeping along the ground. That's when fires double, triple in size in hours. Fuel moisture is the real story right now, and it's dropping fast.
N95 masks. We do have some at our band office. We did buy a whole bunch of air purifiers.
That smoke seen throughout much of Canada, Saskatchewan, Montreal, Toronto, all blanketed. People being warned to limit their time outdoors. And stretching south of the border, hazy skies in Iowa, and ahead of Chicago's Lollapalooza, music fans came prepared.
We definitely took precautions too. We have everything in our hotel to make sure, we're all all safe, all good to go.
With festivals and more
All
people
right, here's the
outside for
thing.
long
When
weekend,
smoke blankets the
experts say
entire
it's
country like
important to
this,
keep in mind
your
how
home's
the smoke
defensible space
can affect
becomes
the
your
body.
real first line of defense. Clear those gutters, trim branches back 10 feet from your roof, and rake out dead needles within 5 meters of your foundation. If embers are riding that smoke column coast to coast, they're landing on unprepared yards first. That's not fear-mongering, that's physics. Do the work now while you've got time.
With diabetes. And our recent research is really focusing on mental health effects and cognition, so things like dementia.
Experts say the simplest way to cope, stay indoors. And if you have to go outside, wear an N95 mask. Stephanie Cram, CBC News, Edmonton.
Now to that wildfire causing so much concern on Vancouver Island tonight. Officials say it's still growing, still burning out of control. And as Mira Bain shows us, it's already forced hundreds of people from their homes.
Smoke blanket like that, crossing the country means wildfire. Smoke is hitting populated zones that never usually see it. Urban areas with zero fire infrastructure are suddenly dealing with ash in their streets. That's when folks realize you need an evacuation plan before the alert hits, not when the TV's telling you to leave. Grab Watchtower's push notifications on Wildfire-Ready, and you're not scrambling at the last second.
A couple weeks ago, we were told to get out of the village.
Cloudy skies and cooler temperatures seem like signs of hope, but strong winds remain a big worry. And the BC Wildfire Service says no rain is expected until midweek. The conditions tough for attack crews.
It's very, very steep, and the terrain, it hasn't been logged in there for a long, long time. So the trees are large, it's steep, and it's bone dry.
The regional district of Nanaimo says fire crews are working around the clock.
They're using night vision,
Folks watching
so
this
they
coast to
can go all
coast,
night on this
you're
fire.
seeing neighbors actually showing up for each other right now. When smoke hits a city that's never dealt with it before, that's when communities pull together. Grab your go bag checklist. Check on folks around you who might not have masks or a plan yet. Real Canadians looking out for real Canadians, that's the move when the smoke rolls in.
Hundreds of homes are under evacuation order. More are under evacuation alert. And officials are urging people to stay off nearby lakes when fire crews are working, trying to scoop up water.
Any interaction between those aircraft and a personal watercraft or an individual, at best will delay the fire response, and at worst will be a very difficult and dangerous interaction that we really, really must avoid.
The fire is suspected to have been caused by human activity. Officials don't want the fight.
Look at that smoke column reaching the jet stream. We're watching the same pattern that fed last year's Donnie Creek monster fire and the Lytton rebuild nightmare. 2023 burned hot, 2024's matching pace. When you see that kind of vertical lift this early in the season, fuel loads from last year's burns are drying twice as fast. This isn't just a bad day, this is how September becomes catastrophic.
Fire could soon block that path. There are new signs tonight. Mark Carney will speak with Donald Trump in the coming days as elevated U.S. tariffs on Canadian exports take hold. Karen Paul's now on the continued efforts to land a deal.
Prime Minister Mark Carney at Vancouver's Pride Parade. Dialed in on the celebration.
Let's focus on pride. Look, Canada's strong. We can give ourselves far more than anyone can take away.
But unable to shake questions.
The folks in those communities right now, they're not just dealing with smoke, they're dealing with livestock getting spooked, elderly neighbors who can't access their meds because pharmacies are closed, pets refusing to go outside in that haze. That's the human cost you don't see in the aerial shots. If you're in a blanket smoke zone, check on someone today who lives alone or has animals. That 5-minute phone call might be the difference between panic and a solid plan.
Understanding of the American concerns in the trading relationship.
Dominic LeBlanc left Washington last week without a deal, but says there's still room for a resolution that brings economic certainty to both sides of the border.
We believe there's a great deal of common ground between the United States and Canada in terms of building two strong economies that work well together.
LeBlanc says he also expects Carney and U.S. President Donald Trump to speak over the next few days. Trump raised the tariff rate to 35%.
Look at that smoke blanket moving. You're watching the atmospheric river of fire season right there. Here's the thing nobody talks about. When smoke this thick rolls over a city, visibility drops to maybe 100 meters, and drivers start panic braking on highways. That's the human cost you don't see in the aerial shots.
Trump left his office order in New Jersey this weekend with no public events.
Visibility drops to maybe 100 meters, and drivers start panic braking on highways.
but leaving
That's when the
room for
accidents pile up faster than the evacuation routes can handle. Keep your headlights on, folks. Smoke's as dangerous on the asphalt as it is in your lungs.
We'll have the tariff levels that we have. We have 8 deals that cover about 55% of the world GDP with our biggest trading partners. For the deals that aren't ready yet, they're going to get the reciprocal rates soon, and then we would expect that there might continue to be negotiations with those countries.
You know, about 95% of Canada's exports remain duty-free, though key sectors, steel, aluminum, autos, lumber, and copper, are deeply affected. Last week, Carney said a deal entirely without tariffs is improbable.
See that smoke reaching up into the stratosphere? That's a pyrocumulus cloud doing what it does best, punching way higher than normal convection should allow. When you've got that kind of vertical energy, you're looking at fire behavior that's genuinely unpredictable.
Yeah, they say tariffs
Winds at different altitudes are going to shear that smoke in wild directions, and folks downwind need to stay locked into real-time updates, not yesterday's forecast.
They don't expect another downturn, but Asha, analysts will be watching.
They will, that's for sure. Karen Pauls in Washington. Thank you. In the Middle East, new video purportedly showing another Israeli hostage has been released. The images are distressing, but their family chose to share them to highlight what their son is going through. As Philip Lee Shanik shows us, this comes amid more devastation in Gaza and new...
Hey! Diesel at the desk. Fully caffeinated, fully unsupervised. Big day on the boards. Strap in. We've got a clip from CTV News Vancouver, dropped 2 weeks ago, and it's solid ground truth on what's brewing up there right now. They're tracking the early season ramp up in BC, conditions that matter for your neck of the woods too if you're watching from Alberta. Real crews, real intel. This one's worth your attention. Roll the tape.
And it's nearly time to rise up again. The defending Northern Super League champion Vancouver Rise open their season at home tonight. Well, good morning. Thanks for joining us. It's Friday, April 24th. Welcome to your Morning Vancouver. I'm Yasmin Gandham. Carrie is off today.
Ears up.
It's only
BC's
April,
not even at peak season yet, and we're already talking fire heating. Late April's when the fuel moisture drops fast, especially in the interior where last year's burns are still tinder dry. This is the window where one hot day plus wind can flip a smoldering threat into a run real quick.
There's no threat to homes,
Chat,
but the fire
if you're in
could
BC,
impact
this is your moment to fire smart the property before June hits.
Increased wildfire risk in parts of BC through the weekend due to dry and windy weather in the forecast. Open fire bans were issued Thursday for the Caribou Fire Center, and the same bans will also be issued today at noon in the Northwest.
Basing on the seasonal outlook, you can say that moderate drought conditions exist in western parts of the Caribou Fire Center and also in the Kamloops Fire Center. And that's where we also have seen a lot of activity already.
Wildfire officials say how hard this fire season hits depends on how much rain we get in May and June. Meantime, there are more safety concerns.
Crown fires are what BC's watching for right now. Once a fire gets into the canopy in these tinder-dry conditions, it's a whole different animal. You're looking at fuel moisture in the duff, sitting around 80% or lower this time of year, which means even a moderate fire can torch the whole stand. April heat plus any wind shift, and you've got spotting kilometers ahead of the main flame.
Homes in the area yesterday. The Peace River Regional District is warning the slide site is extremely unstable and still actively moving. This same area was hit by a slide in 2018 with more ground movement in 2020. BC's transportation minister says creating an alternate route to the community would cost between $250 to $300 million and still wouldn't guarantee safety from landslides. To breaking news now, the federal government has approved the $4 billion expansion of a natural gas pipeline
and here's the
system
thing.
in
April's
BC.
when your
Natural
defensible
Resources
space
Minister
actually
Tim
matters
Hobson
most.
has confirmed
If you haven't cleared
Ottawa's
dead branches and
approval
leaf litter
of
within
the
30 feet of your house yet,
Sunrise project.
do it now.
The project
One ember
includes the
lands in that
addition
dry
of about
duff and you're not waiting for
139
evacuation orders,
kilometers of
you're
new
scrambling.
pipeline by constructing 11 pipeline looping segments
Diesel's on the line. 8 monitors, 2 paws, 0 days off. Welcome back, Fire family. Let's see what we got. Drop everything, folks. Diesel's Watch Tower has breaking news. Heads up, Fire family. Breaking news straight from the Watch Tower. Out-of-control wildfires burning on Vancouver Island right now, and it's got officials sounding the alarm. This one's moving fast and active, which means evacuation alerts could be minutes away if you're in the zone. If you're on the island, grab your go bag, pull up your address on the British Columbia Wildfire Service map, and know your exit route before the order lands. Ears are up on this one. Stay tight. We're tracking it live. Heads up, breaking news straight from the Watch Tower. Tails up, ears wide, we got breaking news on the line. British Columbia Wildfire Service is actively tackling multiple small fires popping up around the Kamloops area right now. They're hitting them hard and fast before they spread, which is exactly how you stop fire season from becoming a nightmare. If you're anywhere in that region, keep your phone close and your go bag ready. Smoke could roll your way. Stay tight, we're tracking this live as it develops, folks. Heads up, breaking news straight from the Watch Tower. Hold the kibble, folks. Breaking news on the wire. The Mount Currie wildfire near Squamish is now under control. This one had folks watching close over the past few days, but crews got ahead of it. Wind cooperated, crews stayed sharp, and that's the outcome we want to see. If you're in the sea-to-sky corridor, you can breathe a little easier, literally and figuratively. Smoke should clear as mop-up keeps rolling. Stay tight, folks. More updates as this develops. Hold the kibble, folks. Breaking news on the wire. Hold the kibble, stop the chase. Breaking news from the Watch Tower. A Vancouver tech outfit just landed $1 million to test cloud seeding against wildfires across British Columbia. Think of it like a controlled rain machine to starve fires before they blow up. It's early stage stuff, not a silver bullet, but this is the kind of innovation we need running parallel to fire-smart prep and evacuation readiness. The real win happens when your defensible space and go bag are locked in before any tech hits the sky. Stay tight, folks. More details as this develops. Heads up, breaking news straight from the Watch Tower. Hold the kibble, folks. Breaking news on the wire. Campfires are now banned across BC's south coast, including the entire Nanaimo Regional District. Fire danger's still cooking out there, and the authorities aren't taking chances. Meanwhile, that fire near Enderby's under control, but burning restrictions kick in Thursday. Here's the thing. This isn't panic, it's prevention. One unattended campfire can torch thousands of hectares. If you're planning a weekend trip to the south coast, ground fires are off the menu. Burning restrictions coming Thursday means we're ramping up fast. Stay tight, more as it develops. All right, so 2 weeks back, early in this season, global news caught a fire that didn't care about the provincial border. A BC wildfire just waltzed right into Alberta and forced folks to pack up and go. We're talking evacuation orders spreading fast, communities getting hit from both sides. This is what cross-border fire season looks like. Let's roll the tape and see what they found on the ground.
CBC's Linda Ward joins us now with the details on this. So, Linda, what do we know so far?
Well, Natasha, those gusty winds forcing officials to widen that evacuation order for Grande Prairie County. This is the Kiskatna River fire in BC that is now reaching across the Alberta-BC border and threatening communities there. There are now, we can tell you, 142 residents that are part of this evacuation order. BC Wildfire Service has just given us an update, and they say that they were anticipating winds from the northwest.
A cross-border fire is a whole new tactical problem. British Columbia Wildfire and Alberta Wildfire Services have to coordinate evacuation zones, resource sharing, and incident command in real time across 2 provinces with different protocols. When a fire crosses that provincial line, crews lose continuity of local intel, handoff delays happen, and civilians end up in gaps between evacuation orders. The Donnie Creek fire in 2023 burned over over 600,000 hectares, partly because coordination lags meant crews were reacting instead of anchoring defensible lines early. Watch for whether Alberta's teams are pre-positioning crews on the eastern flank right now. That's the move that stops this becoming a week-long story instead of a month-long one.
We have not seen the fire front itself encroach on the community, and continuing to work. That is our #1 priority on this incident, is to protect life and property. So Kelly Lake does remain a top priority for structure protection and wildland fire crews. But as it stands right now, minimal impact to the community of Kelly Lake.
That update only moments ago. She says that there are 60 crew members working on structure protection, 117 wildfire crews from BC, as well as crews from Alberta that are working side by side in order to protect this community. Today, smoke from the north, they say, is going to sort of sit over the area.
Cross-border fires hit different terrain regimes on each side. British Columbia's got dense conifer and beetle kill fuel. Alberta's got more grassland and mixed forest with faster spread potential once it hits the prairie interface. That transition zone east of the provincial line is where ember cast becomes lethal. In wind events like this, embers can travel 3 to 5 kilometers ahead of the visible flame, meaning Alberta communities downwind of that crossing point are in danger zone even before the fire front arrives. Crews on the Alberta side are dealing with fuel types that behave nothing like what British Columbia's teams just fought. Different suppression tactics,
Let's talk about a
different
fire
burn
that's
rates.
happening near Fort Nelson.
That's why the
British
handoff
Columbia.
matters
What can you
so
tell us
much
about
right
that?
now.
Yeah, and consequently, this is affecting the Dawson Creek, Fort St. John, Fort Nelson area, an area where a number of the evacuees from the Peace River Regional District have been told to go. So this is the Summit Lake Fire. This is affecting the Fort Nelson First Nation. They have issued an evacuation order for the Kanta area last night, upgraded an alert as well for the Fontas area to an evacuation order as well. In addition to this, this is Highway 97, the Alaska Highway at Steamboat Hill. This is a time lapse of about the last 24
So here's
hours.
the ops reality with a cross-border fire like this. Once it hits that Alberta boundary, British Columbia's air tankers and ground crews hand off to Alberta Wildfire Services. But the mutual aid agreement only covers so much. Alberta's got finite helicopter lift and retardant capacity, and if they're already stretched on another active file, this fire's basically on its own for the first 72 hours.
Okay, Linda,
That's the
thanks
window
so
where
much.
structure protection pivots from offensive to defensive. Crews shift from hitting the head to saving houses along the perimeter. The incident commander on the Alberta side right now has to make a call. Anchor crews to key communities or risk losing a chunk of undefended real estate between the evacuation zone and the fire's actual spread. That calculation happens fast, and it usually favors the towns with the most people first. Eyes up, the fire desk has the boards. 25 fires on the board across the country right now, and here's the thing. Connie Lake in British Columbia is running the show at 190 hectares. But it's under control. Webster Creek and Ferriby are both being held tight too. All 3 are person-caused, which means this is stuff we can actually prevent. The good news? Our crews are staying ahead of them. What I'm watching is whether the heat wave rolling into the interior keeps pushing suppression timelines. You want Wildfire-Ready's FWI tracker pulling Alberta and British Columbia into one map so you're not guessing on fire weather. We're still in this, folks. CTV News dropped this one a couple weeks back, and it's still hitting hard. British Columbia wildfire season ramping up in late April. That's early, folks. We're talking fire conditions, what communities are bracing for, and why right now matters. CTV's field crew captured exactly what we're watching unfold. Let's roll the tape.
And it's nearly time to rise up again. The defending Northern Super League champion Vancouver Rise open their season at home tonight. Well, good morning. Thanks for joining us. It's Friday, April 24th. Welcome to your morning, Vancouver. I'm Yasmin Gandham. Kerry is off today.
BC's fire season ramping up in late April is the real alarm bell here. Normally, peak risk doesn't hit until July, but warmer springs and lower snowpack are shifting that window earlier every year. What you're seeing on screen right now is likely crews doing fuel assessments and pre-positioning equipment in high-risk zones around populated areas. The key number to watch: if spring FDUI ratings are already climbing into the moderate to high range by late April, that's a full month or more of elevated fire danger before summer even starts. British Columbia wildfire will be stretching resources thin across the province this year. So early detection and community fire smart prep aren't optional, they're critical.
You can say that moderate drought conditions exist in western parts of the Caribou Fire Center and also in the Kamloops Fire Center. And that's where we also have seen a lot of activity already.
Wildfire officials say how hard this fire season hits depends on how much rain we get in May and June. Meantime, there are more safety concerns over a landslide in northeastern BC with a new evacuation alert issued near Fort St. John. The 400-meter-long slide started Sunday and has cut off access to the old fort community. An evacuation order issued for 50
Late
homes
April heat in
Monday
BC means the fuel moisture is dropping fast. Grass and small branches are drying out weeks ahead of normal, which pushes the fine fuel moisture code into dangerous territory right now. That code specifically measures how fast small dead stuff ignites, and when it's climbing in April instead of June, you're basically handing any spark a head start. What crews are watching for this week? If daytime temps stay above 20 degrees with low humidity and wind gusts off the interior valleys, you could see fire behavior that usually waits until August. That's the real squeeze, not just more fires, but fires that move and spread like it's peak season already.
To breaking news now, the federal government has approved the $4 billion expansion of a natural gas pipeline system in BC. Natural Resources Minister Tim Hodgson has confirmed Ottawa's approval of the Enbridge Sunrise project. The project includes the addition of about 139 kilometers of new pipeline by constructing 11 pipeline looping segments parallel to the existing line. The government says it will help ensure BC has enough gas supply as LNG export facilities come online. Construction is expected to begin this summer.
Right now, you're watching British Columbia Wildfire's Incident Command structure kick into gear, and that's the unsexy but critical backbone here. In late April, with fire behavior already ramping up 2 months early, they're coordinating across multiple fire centers, pre-positioning crews and water bombers in predictable ignition zones around populated valleys. The mutual aid agreements between British Columbia, Alberta, and federal resources mean if one region lights up hot, crews can roll from neighboring provinces within hours. What most folks don't see, the logistics coordinators are already gaming out helicopter staging areas, fuel cache locations, and which highways stay clear for evacuation versus resupply. That operational readiness in April is what keeps a fire from becoming a town-level disaster by June.
Will debate for 90 minutes at the Canada Strong and Free Network conference. They're competing to replace former leader John Rustad, who stepped down after a caucus revolt in December. Political observers say the race has grown more unpredictable, with early frontrunners now facing questions, creating fresh momentum for other contenders. The party also says its membership has served more than 42,000 since the campaign began. Now, the race is far from over. The new leader will be announced at the end of May. Yasmin?
All right, we'll be watching closely tonight. Thanks, Dem. Well, there are calls for a controversial BC MLA to apologize after she was accused
Here's the thing about BC
Nazi
heating up. In late April, your defensible space window just got shorter. Most homeowners think they've got until June to clear gutters and prune tree branches back 10 feet from the roof. But when fire season's already Yo, Diesel here. Vest on, headset cranked, treats nowhere in sight. Welcome to the Watchtower, folks. Let's go. Pulling some archival footage from August 3rd, 2025. CBC News. The National covered that brutal smoke event that blanketed basically the whole country. This one's a solid reminder of what happens when multiple fires are running hot at the same time, and the smoke column reaches everyone. Worth watching to see the scale of it. Roll the tape.
Ahead in search of a deal.
We'll come to something with the Americans, something constructive with the Americans.
And the soaring cost of a summer staple.
There's no really good substitute for a hamburger or a steak on the barbecue.
Why beef prices are rising so high so quickly.
From CBC News, this is The National with Asha Tomlinson.
Thanks for joining us. Ian is away. Right across the country, Canadians are contending with wildfires this holiday weekend. Some forced out by flames, while others are forced inside.
Smoke blanket like this means multiple fires are feeding into one massive column, likely stacked under a strong inversion layer.
It's one of more than
when smoke
700
parks over a
Canadian
population
wildfires
center like
burning right
this,
now.
you're looking
And
at
all that
ACCI readings
smoke is a
climbing into the
problem.
10-plus
Air
zone.
quality
That's
warnings
very
and
high-risk
statements
territory,
stretching from
not
BC
just for
to the
sensitive
Northwest
groups, but for
Territories
everyone.
to New Brunswick.
Schools start considering outdoor
creating
activity
hazy
cancellations.
skies and hazardous
Hospitals see
conditions
respiratory
for
admissions
everyone
spike.
breathing it in.
The
Stephanie
real
Cram
kicker
starts our
is how
coverage
long it
tonight
stays
with a
put.
closer look at the
If
health
there's a ridge or valley trapping it, you could be looking at
Thompson,
days of
Manitoba,
degraded air.
choked by smoke.
Wildfire.
Air quality.
Reddy's ACCI alerts would have flagged this hours before it hit your neighborhood, gives you time to seal up and get masks ready before the worst of it settles in.
Dangerous levels this weekend in northern Manitoba. A similar scene in Yellowknife and further west in Tlilakwe First Nation in Fort Simpson.
The smoke is still prevalent in the air. You know, you can smell it creeping through the doors and through the cracks in the windows.
Chief Kaylee Antoine says his community is trying its best to protect the vulnerable, including elders, from the smoke.
Just making sure we're offering N95 masks. We do have some at our band office. We did buy a whole bunch of air purifiers.
That smoke seen throughout much of Canada, Saskatchewan,
Smoke
Montreal,
blanketing the country like this
Toronto,
doesn't happen by
all
accident.
blanketed.
You're looking at
People being
multiple
warned to
fire
limit their
zones
time
feeding into a
outdoors.
single atmospheric
And
column,
stretching south
and
of
that
the
column's
border,
being held in
hazy
place by
skies
what
in
we call a
Iowa,
warm
and
air
ahead of
inversion
Chicago's
layer.
Lollapalooza,
Under
these
those
fans
conditions,
came
wind
prepared.
speeds drop
We definitely,
dramatically near the ground,
took
even if
precautions, too. Like, we have
upper-level
everything in
winds
our
are howling.
hotel
That's
to,
why
like,
the
make
smoke
sure,
just
we're all,
sits.
like,
The fire
safe,
weather
all good to
index
go.
across affected regions
Festivals
is
and more
probably
people
running
outside for the
mid-30s to
long
low
weekend.
40s right now.
Experts say it's
That's the
important to
extreme
keep in
threshold
mind
where
how the
fires
smoke
transition from
can affect
spreading
the
to
body.
running.
We
Terrain
clearly
matters
see
too.
things
Valleys and
like,
basins trap that
filling
smoke and the
masses,
heat
more
radiating
people,
off it, creating its own weather system.
having physician
This is the
visits
kind
for
of setup that keeps
respiratory
air quality
conditions.
in
We
the
see
dangerous zone for a
ambulance
week or
dispatch
more.
calls.
With far-reaching health implications.
It's affecting the heart. We see impacts on individuals with diabetes. And our recent research is really focusing on mental health effects and cognition, so things like dementia.
Experts say the simplest way to cope, stay indoors. And if you have to go outside, wear an N95 mask. Stephanie Cram, CBC News, Edmonton.
Now to that wildfire causing so much concern on Vancouver Island tonight. Officials say it's still growing, still burning out of control. And as Mira Bain shows us, it's already forced hundreds
What
of
you're
people from
seeing
their
here
homes.
is mutual aid mobilization in real time. When smoke blankets this much territory, provincial fire centers coordinate across borders. British Columbia Wildfire, Alberta Wildfire, Parks Canada, even U.S. fire agencies share intel on active incident perimeters and atmospheric models. Ground crews and air tanker squadrons get repositioned based on where the fire's likely to run next, not where it is now. The incident commanders are running predictive models hourly, watching fuel moisture, wind patterns, and topography to pre-position crews and water bombers before the fire reaches them. That's the difference between reactive scrambling and staying ahead, and it only works if everyone's talking to the same map.
The conditions tough for attack crews.
It's very, very steep, and the terrain, it hasn't been logged in there for a long, long time. So the trees are large, it's steep, and it's bone dry.
The regional district of Nanaimo says fire crews are working around the clock.
They're using night vision so they can go all night on this fire.
Dozens of firefighters and structural protection specialists, as well as 7 helicopters, are helping to fight the fire.
You know, it could be a disaster for us, so, you know, the guys are on the floor here doing the best they can, and us as community members, we're ready to
Smoke blanketing Canada like this reveals something critical about your home's envelope. If that smoke's seeping into your neighborhood, it's flowing right through the gaps where your house loses heat in winter. Check your attic vents, soffit gaps, and foundation cracks now before fire season peaks. Same gaps that let smoke in also let embers in during evacuation level fires. A 2-hour caulk and seal pass around your foundation and roof line isn't glamorous, but it's the difference between a defendable house and one that catches from the inside out. That's the fire-smart move that actually
The
sticks
fire
when the
is
real test
suspected to
comes.
have been caused by human activity. Officials don't want the fight to be delayed by more. Mira Baines, CBC News, Vancouver.
Wildfires in northern Manitoba are forcing a mandatory evacuation of more than 3,000 people in Nisicawesik Cree Nation. The remote community is about 850 kilometers north of Winnipeg. There's only one road out of town, and officials are concerned a nearby fire could soon block that path. There are new signs tonight. Mark Carney will speak with Donald Trump in the coming days as elevated U.S. tariffs on Canadian exports take hold.
Smoke this thick blanketing the entire country means we're looking at multiple active fire zones, all feeding into the same atmospheric river. And that's what the atmospheric models are showing right now across British Columbia and Alberta. The real tell is persistence. When smoke parks over a city for days like this, it's because the upper-level wind pattern has basically stalled. Temperature gradients aren't pushing it east fast enough. Air quality in affected zones is climbing into the 8 to 10 AQHI range, which means vulnerable populations, kids, seniors, folks with respiratory conditions need to stay indoors with windows sealed and air filtration running. This is textbook setup for a multi-day air quality event. Wildfire-Ready's app pulls live ACCI forecasts and regional alerts into one map, so you're not guessing whether today's breathable or not.
Dominic LeBlanc left Washington last week without a deal, but says there's still room for a resolution that brings economic certainty to both sides of the border.
We believe there's a great deal of common ground between the United States and Canada in terms of building two strong economies that work well together.
LeBlanc says he also expects Carney and U.S. President Donald Trump to speak over the next few days. Trump raised the tariff rate to 35% on some Canadian exports to the U.S., effective August 1st. Trump left
When smoke blankets this wide across Canada, evacuees and displaced residents are dealing with a triple hit. They've already lost homes or are fleeing right now. Their lungs are taking a beating from the air quality, and they're scattered across shelters with limited access to clean air. First Nations communities hit hardest here often lack the indoor filtration infrastructure that urban centers take for granted. Livestock left behind or hastily relocated face dehydration and respiratory stress from the particulates. Ranchers in affected zones are reporting cattle herds showing signs of smoke inhalation within hours of exposure. The human cost isn't just the structures burned, it's the weeks of respiratory recovery and the mental toll of displacement compounded by breathing hazardous air while you're trying to figure out where you're sleeping next.
Last week, Carney said a deal entirely without tariffs is improbable and that negotiations will determine their size and scope.
Now, Hassett mentioned reciprocal tariffs. When those were first announced in the spring, markets tanked and Trump hit pause. But his team insists that won't happen again.
Yeah, they say tariffs are here to stay. Some within his team also say more recently markets have reacted positively to Trump's policies. They don't expect another downturn, but Asha, analysts will be watching.
They will, that's for sure. Karen Pauls in Washington. Thank you.
Canada's seen smoke blankets before, but the scale here is worth context. The 2023 fire season burned over 6.5 million hectares across the country, mostly British Columbia and Alberta. And this atmospheric stacking is exactly how those fires chain together into continental haze. The McDougall Creek and Donnie Creek fires that year created similar smoke columns that parked over populated areas for weeks. What's critical now is whether this represents new fire starts feeding the column or smoke from established fires that crews are already mopping up. If it's the latter, air quality should start clearing within days once those fires hit natural fire breaks or get suppressed. If fresh ignitions are spinning up in the smoke's source zones, we're looking at a longer siege. Diesel's on the line. 8 monitors, 2 pause, 0 days off. Welcome back, Fire family. Let's see what we got. All right, CBC just dropped this 5 days ago, and it's still hitting hard. They're out on the ground in Alberta and British Columbia where alert levels are climbing fast. You're going to see what a community actually looks like when fire season shifts into gear, evacuation prep, smoke rolling in, locals talking real talk about what's coming. This is the reality check we all need right now. Let's roll it.
Alberta community was under a state of emergency until late Sunday afternoon. The roughly 300 residents were ready to evacuate at a moment's notice.
It's very concerning because we have so many animals, about 50 animals total on the property. So to get everybody rounded up and get them out of here safely, it's a big job.
Tiffany Fortin says her evacuation plan includes tagging her animals, and every wildfire season is a scare. Village officials say this may seem early for the start of it, but it isn't.
I've seen fires as early as the beginning of April. I've also seen nice and wet right through to the May long weekend, so you can't
Ears up.
really judge.
Alberta and British Columbia don't light up at the same time without reason. We're talking FWI ratings likely pushing into the high to extreme range across both
Western
provinces
Canada
right
is
now,
expecting warmer
which
than
means the
normal
fuel
temperatures
moisture
this
is
summer.
bottoming out
As of
fast.
Sunday afternoon,
The
in
timing
Alberta,
matters.
there were 8 active
Late spring in
wildfires,
Alberta,
2 out of
early summer
control.
creep in British Columbia, and
about
both
2
regions
dozen
running
fires
hotter
were
and
burning,
drier
4 of
than
them
their normal
considered out of
May-June
control.
baseline.
BC Wildfire
Crews
says
are
it's
probably
too soon
already
to know
staging
if it'll be
resources
that
along the
year.
wildland-urban interface in the high-risk zones, not waiting for the big one to drop. This is the window where one sustained wind event turns a small start into a sprawl, so incident commanders are running lean and pre-positioned.
Potentially kind of worse conditions and a worse fire season.
In Sandy Beach, the winds that were expected haven't materialized, allowing crews to keep the fire under control, standing by in case it rekindles. Caroline Bargout, CBC News, Vancouver.
Eyes up, the fire desk has the boards. "25 fires across the boards right now, folks. And the big dog on the leash is Connie Lake up in British Columbia, 190 hectares, person caused. Crews have it under control. That's the win we want to see. Webster Creek and Ferriby are both tracking smaller, being held or controlled, also person caused. Here's what's notable: 3 fires, 3 people involved. Fire season's still early enough that we're catching these before they spiral. But this is exactly why we're hammering the prevention message. 1 spark, 1 mistake, and we're talking 3-digit hectares instead of 2. Keep an eye on the weather window coming this week. That's when things get spicy. All right, folks, CTV dropped this one 2 weeks back, and it's still hitting hard. Early April, smoke's already rolling in British Columbia, and they're sounding the alarm on what's shaping up to be a gnarly season ahead. Real on-the-ground reporting, real numbers, real concern. This is exactly the kind of heads-up that matters before things get spicy. Roll the tape.
And it's nearly time to rise up again. The defending Northern Super League champion, Vancouver Rise, open their season at home tonight. Well, good morning. Thanks for
Hey, Diesel at the desk, fully caffeinated, fully unsupervised. Big day on the boards. Strap in. All right, CBC just dropped a 2026 wildfire outlook piece about a month back, and it's still hitting hard. They're looking ahead at what fire season's shaping up to be. And spoiler, it's not boring. If you want the real talk on what's coming down the pipe for us next year, this is the breakdown you need. Roll the tape.
So we don't expect too much activity early in the spring, at least. The exceptions are southern British Columbia and southern prairie, southwestern Saskatchewan through southern Alberta, where snow's come and gone over the winter, and we actually had our fire weather index calculation starting in
So to me, 2026 is a litmus test. If we get another bad fire season, which, the stage is set for that, that's our future, is that most years are going to be bad fire seasons. Now, regionally, I still believe there will be cooler weather years, but we're
CBC's running 2026 outlook right now, and that's the smart move. Canada's fire seasons aren't getting shorter, they're getting meaner. We're looking at earlier ignitions, longer burn windows, and fuel moisture that's staying critically dry longer into fall. Last year's 2.9 million hectares burned across the country didn't happen by accident, it's the trend line. What folks need to clock is this. If 2026 trends hotter and drier than the 10-year average, we're not talking marginal risk bump. We're talking potential for another season where multiple megafires run simultaneously, stretching crews thin from coast to coast. That's why the outlook conversation matters more than the daily fire map. It's how fire managers pre-position resources before the bell rings.
Haven't started really to suck up the water, and it can get to a pretty good sized fire, fairly quickly.
All right, folks, Fireboard coming up. "25 fires burning across Canada right now. And the big dog on the board is Connie Lake up in British Columbia, 190 hectares. Person caused. Crews have it under control, that's the good news. Webster Creek and Ferriby are both being held, also human started, both under 70 hectares. What's notable here? Every single one of these is tied to somebody's action. That's the reminder that fire season doesn't have to happen to you. One match, one unattended campfire, one hot exhaust, that's the difference between a controlled afternoon and a multi-week response. Stay sharp out there. CBC just dropped this a month back, and it's solid intel. They're breaking down what 2026 could look like fire-wise across Canada, climate data, seasonal patterns, the whole picture. If you're thinking ahead for next season or just want to understand what the experts are actually predicting, this is the one. Roll the tape.
So we don't expect too much activity early in the spring, at least. The exceptions are southern British Columbia and southern prairie, southwestern Saskatchewan through southern Alberta, where snow's come and gone over the winter, and we actually had our fire weather index calculation starting in
So to me, 2026 is a litmus test. If we get another bad fire season, which, the stage is set for that, that's our future, is that most years are going to be bad fire seasons. Now, regionally, I still believe there'll be cooler
so a
weather
2026
years,
outlook means they're running the
we're a big
models now,
country.
looking at fuel moisture
Somewhere,
trends, spring
every
snowpack
fire
timing,
season's gonna be
and
burning,
historical fire
and
season
that's
length across
our
the
new
whole
reality
country.
because the
That's
climate's
smart.
changing. We're
They're
getting
probably
warmer,
cross-referencing La
and the
Nina
warmer we
or
get,
El Nino
the longer the
patterns,
fire seasons
spring
are,
precip
the
forecasts,
more lightning
and comparing
strikes
it to
we
the last
expect.
5 years of actual burn data.
As we warm,
What folks need to know.
ability
If the
to
outlook's
suck
flagging
moisture
higher
out,
risk in your
dead
region,
fuel on the forest
that's the time to
floor
fire smart your property.
increases rapidly.
Clear gutters, thin defensible space, harden your zone zero. Early summer's the window. Don't wait for August heat to start prep.
Spark that material off, and if it's a dry, windy day, those fine fuels will, can carry that flame into trees which are dried from the winter. Haven't started really to suck up the water, and it can get to a pretty good sized fire, fairly quickly.
Story on the wire. Here we go. Kamloops is still dealing with multiple small fires scattered across the region, and BCWS is keeping a close eye on containment. Nothing massive on the radar yet, but small fires can turn fast if conditions spike, and we're heading into peak fire season. This is the moment to check your own property. Clear those gutters, trim back dead branches, harden your defensible space now while you've got time and energy. Chat, if you're in the interior, this is your wake-up call. Stick with us, we're tracking every spark and updating live as conditions change. All right, CBC just dropped some serious intel on what 2026 could look like for us up here. This was out a month ago, and it's still the sharpest breakdown I've seen on the season ahead. Fire scientists walking through the forecast. What's changing? What's staying the same? It's the kind of preview that tells you whether you're fire-smarting your place this summer or next. Let's roll the tape.
The exceptions are southern British Columbia and southern prairie, southwestern Saskatchewan through southern Alberta, where snow's come and gone over the winter, and we actually had our fire weather index calculation starting in
So to me, 2026 is a litmus test. If we get another bad fire season, which, the stage is set for that, that's our future, is that most years are going to be bad fire seasons. Now, regionally, I still believe there will be cooler weather years, but, we're a big country. Somewhere, every fire season is going to be burning. Right?
So this 2026 outlook is banking on what we learned the hard way last season. Warmer springs mean the snowpack's melting 3-4 weeks earlier than the historical baseline. That compresses the spring moisture window and pushes peak fire season further into June and July instead of August. Environment and Climate Change Canada's already flagged that the jet stream positioning next year could lock in a blocking high over Western Canada for sustained weeks, which is exactly the recipe that turned 2023 and 2024 into back-to-back record seasons. The key number folks should clock. If spring runoff timing shifts another 10 to 14 days, we're looking at tinder dry forests by mid-June instead of mid-July. That's not just a calendar shift. It's a fundamentally longer, hotter fire season compressed into the window when crews and aircraft are still ramping up. Skies report incoming. Let's see what Environment Canada has. Rain's rolling in this weekend. We're talking 15 to 25 millimeters Saturday afternoon through Sunday morning, but some areas could see more. That's good news for fire risk, honestly. Combined with the snowmelt happening right now, you're looking at some solid moisture hitting the ground. Second alert, frost tonight. Temperatures dropping near freezing, so if you've got sensitive plants or early seedlings out there, cover them up. Here's what to watch. After that rain clears, we're tracking the next weather pattern. Stick with us for the full breakdown coming up. All right, CBC just dropped this about a month back, and it's still the smartest 2026 outlook conversation I've seen. They're walking through what next season could look like based on what we're learning right now. Modeling, climate patterns, the whole picture. This isn't doom, it's data. Stick around, let's roll the tape.
snowpack, so we don't expect too much activity early in the spring at least. The exceptions are southern British Columbia and southern prairie, southwestern Saskatchewan through southern Alberta, where snow's come and gone over the winter, and we actually had our fire weather index calculation starting in
So to me, 2026 is a litmus test. If we get another bad fire season, which, the stage is set for that, that's our future, is that most years are going to be bad fire seasons. Now, regionally, I still believe there will be cooler weather years. But,
okay, so 2026 outlook means they're running the models now, and here's what that tells us. Every fire season, environment and climate change. Canada runs seasonal forecasts based on spring snowpack, soil moisture, and temperature anomalies. If they're already flagging 2026, they're seeing patterns that worry them. The prairies and boreal forests get hit hardest when spring runoff is light and summer heat arrives early. That's your fire weather setup. Alberta and northern British Columbia watch this close because late spring fires before fuel cures are actually easier to catch. But early season always means longer burn windows.
those fine
The
fuels
chat should know.
can carry
Outlook models aren't perfect, but they're what land managers use right now to pre-position crews and resources.
haven't started really to
If
suck up
2026 is
water,
looking hot and dry, forestry agencies
it
are
can
already hiring and
get to a
moving equipment
pretty
into
good-sized
staging
fire,
areas.
fairly quickly.
Hold the kibble, folks. Breaking news on the wire. Hold the kibble, folks. Breaking news on the wire. Out-of-control wildfires burning hot on Vancouver Island right now, and it's got fire officials sounding the alarm. This one's moving fast, and if you're on the island or downwind, you need to be locked in. Check your local evacuation alerts immediately. Don't wait for the phone to ring. This is exactly when Wildfire-Ready's push notifications earn their keep, keeping you ahead of the smoke and the orders. Ears up, fire family. We're tracking this one hard. More as it develops. Stay tight. Hold the kibble, folks. Breaking news on the wire. Hold the kibble, folks. Breaking news on the wire. British Columbia Wildfire Service is actively pushing back against multiple small fires popping up around the Kamloops area right now. This is exactly the kind of situation where early aggression pays off. Crews are moving fast to knock these down before they spread. Kamloops sits in a hot zone come fire season, so the fact that crews are on it fast is solid news. Keep your eyes on this one. We're tracking it live in the Watch Tower. Stay tight. More as it develops. Tails up, ears wide, we got breaking news on the line. Tails up, ears wide, we got breaking news on the line. The Mount Currie wildfire near Squamish just tipped into controlled status. That's the good news, folks. Firefighters and air support finally got ahead of the spread, and the threat to nearby communities is dropping fast. This one was close to homes for a minute there, so crews deserve the credit. If you were in an evacuation alert zone, check your local authorities' latest. Alerts ease as containment holds. We'll be tracking the full recovery here. Stay tight. More as it develops. Tails up, ears wide, we got breaking news on the line. Hold the kibble. Stop the chase. Breaking news from the Watch Tower. Vancouver's got $1 million bet riding on cloud seeding tech to fight wildfires straight from the sky. BC's greenlighting a pilot to see if we can nudge clouds into dumping rain before fires explode. It's not a silver bullet, weather's still in charge, but it's one more tool in the toolbox when fire season gets hot. Real talk. Prevention and hardening your home still do the heavy lifting. Stay tight, folks. More as this develops. Hold the kibble, folks. Breaking news on the wire. Hold the kibble, folks. Breaking news on the wire. Campfires just got banned across BC's south coast, including the entire Nanaimo Regional District. Fire danger's still climbing, and the province isn't taking chances. Meanwhile, that Enderby fire's under control, but burning restrictions kick in Thursday, so if you've got plans for a backyard bonfire this week, they're toast. This is the real deal. Elevated conditions mean one spark does damage fast. Get your go bag ready, know your exit routes, and check wildfire. Ready for live evacuation orders before you need them. Stay tight. We're tracking every development. Got a fresh one for you, folks. All right, folks, a Vancouver outfit just landed $1 million to test cloud seeding tech right here in British Columbia, basically trying to squeeze rain out of smoke and fire season heat. Look, I'm not saying it'll be the silver bullet, but when you're in a drought cycle and... Hold on, need more detail. What kind of story are you after? Coming back to that BC wildfire season story CTV News dropped 2 weeks ago. A tip. We paused it earlier, checklist, and now we're finishing what they started. Community resilience on the ground reporting from Vancouver about why spring's already looking hot this year. A deal hunt, product folks deep dive, to see what the outdoors and fire officials are saying before things get worse. Something else. Let's roll the tape. A file, a plan, a note you're building. What's the play? What's up, chat? Diesel checking in, ears up, tail going. Fire season's loud, I'm louder. Let's roll? All right, CTV Vancouver dropped this 2 weeks ago and it's still hitting hard. Spring's supposed to be the calm before the storm, but BC's already showing us what's coming. This is solid on-the-ground reporting about what we're walking into this season. Folks in the Lower Mainland especially need to see this. Roll the tape. Diesel's on the line. 8 monitors, 2 paws, 0 days off. Welcome back, Fire family. Let's see what we got. Tails up, ears wide, we got breaking news on the line. 24 heat records just shattered across BC. We're talking late July temps showing up in early season, and that's a massive wildfire accelerant. When the thermometer jumps like that, fuel dries faster, fire behavior gets aggressive, and the window for prevention shrinks hard. FWUI ratings are going to spike this week. That's your cue to lock down defensible space now, not when the alert hits. Smoke's going to follow the heat. Stay dialed in, folks. We're tracking live updates minute by minute. Drop everything, folks. Diesel's Watchtower has breaking news. Kamloops is running a live trial on AI wildfire prevention and lightning suppression right now. This isn't theoretical, it's boots-on-the-ground tech trying to catch ignitions before they blow up. The play here is real-time prediction and early intervention, which could be a game-changer for how we fight fire season in British Columbia. If this works, we're looking at a whole new layer of prevention tools. Tails up on this one, folks. More details as they roll in. Hey, Diesel at the desk. Heads up, breaking news straight from the Watchtower. Fully unsupervised. No need. That's the job. Ears up when you're ready. "21 active fires across British Columbia and Alberta this morning. Biggest ones still running hot. What do you need on the... What's up, chat? Diesel checking in, ears up, tail going. Fire season's loud, I'm louder. Let's roll. Drop everything, folks. Diesel's Watchtower has breaking news. Vancouver Island's got an out-of-control fire that just punched through the alert level, and evacuation zones are expanding as we speak. Wind's pushing this thing fast, and crews are scrambling to get ahead of it. If you're on the island, this is your moment to check those evacuation order maps and have your go bag staged by the door. Smoke's going to be thick. Wildfire-Ready's tracking this live with real-time boundaries and air quality updates. We're monitoring every hour. Stay locked in. More details coming hot. Tails up, ears wide. We got breaking news on the line. Hey! Diesel at the desk, fully caffeinated, fully unsupervised. Big day on the boards. Strap in. Diesel's on the line. 8 monitors, 2 paws, 0 days off. Welcome back, Fire family. Let's see what we got. All right, folks. CBC dropped this one 5 days ago and it's still hitting hard. We're talking Alberta and British Columbia both lighting up, communities bracing for what's coming, and real people walking through their prep right now. This is the ground truth, not the model, not the forecast, but what folks are actually dealing with. Let's roll the tape and see what's happening on the front lines. What's up, chat? Diesel checking in, ears up, tail going. Fire season's loud, I'm louder. Let's roll. We're picking up where we left off on that CBC News piece from 5 days ago. Wildfire season puts parts of Alberta, British Columbia on alert. They're out in the field showing you what's actually happening on the ground right now, the conditions that have folks bracing for impact across both provinces. If you missed the first half, no worries, we're going to finish this one strong. Roll the tape.
Because we have so many animals, about 50 animals total on the property. So to get everybody rounded up and get them out of here safely, it's a big job.
Tiffany Fortin says her evacuation plan includes tagging her animals, and every wildfire season is a scare. Village officials say this may seem early for the start of it, but it isn't.
I've seen fires as early as the beginning of April. I've also seen nice and wet right through to the May long weekend. So you can't really judge, you know. You always have to be prepared. You know, as soon as the snow's gone, as it turns out this year.
Western Canada is expecting warmer than normal temperatures this summer.
All right, so Alberta and British Columbia both lighting up on the same alert cycle. That's the tell right there. When you're seeing simultaneous fire danger across provincial lines like this, you're looking at a unified weather pattern. High pressure system, low humidity, sustained winds pushing dry air masses across both regions. The fire weather index is climbing into the elevated range, which means even smaller ignitions are running fast and wide. What crews are watching for right now is fuel moisture. If we've had a dry spring in those zones, dead grass, and last year's pine needles are primed to move. British Columbia Wildfire Service and Alberta, Wildfire will be running pre-positioning ops, getting ground crews, helicopters, and water tankers staged in the high-risk corridors before the afternoon winds peak. The clock's ticking on prevention burns too. You'll see agencies rush controlled ignitions in the next week or two to reduce the tinderbox effect before peak summer hits. Here we go, what's burning today? "25 fires on the board across Canada right now. And Connie Lake up in British Columbia is the heavyweight at 190 hectares. Good news, it's under control. Webster Creek and Ferriby are both being held steady too, 66 and 64 hectares respectively. Here's what's jumping out at me. All three are person-caused. That's the pattern we're watching. Fire season's still ramping, folks, and human ignition sources are the low-hanging fruit we can actually prevent. Keep your campfires dead out, equipment spark-free, and those burn piles managed. We'll keep an eye on these three and anything new that pops. Chat, who's got a fire-smart question for us next? All right, so CBC was out on the ground just 5 days ago, capturing exactly what wildfire season looks like right now across Alberta and British Columbia. Crews, smoke, evacuation prep, the real deal. This is boots on the ground reporting that shows you what's actually happening in communities on alert. Worth your time. Let's roll the tape.
Because we have so many animals, about 50 animals total on the property. So to get everybody rounded up and get them out of here safely, it's a big job.
Tiffany Fortin says her evacuation plan includes tagging her animals, and every wildfire season is a scare. Village officials say this may seem early for the start of it, but it isn't.
I've seen fires as early as the beginning of April. I've also seen nice and wet right through to the May long weekend, so you can't really judge, You always have to be prepared. As soon as the snow's gone,
Ears
as it
up.
turns out this
Alberta
year.
and British Columbia don't both land on
Western
alert
Canada
unless
is
the
expecting
FWI
warmer
is
than
climbing
normal
hard across
temperatures
both
this summer.
provinces right now.
As of Sunday afternoon,
We're talking
in
fire
Alberta,
weather
there were
indices
8
likely
active
pushing into
wildfires,
the
2
high
out
to
of
extreme
control.
range,
In British
which means
Columbia,
fuel moisture is
about 2
dropping
dozen
fast
fires
and
were
wind
burning,
patterns are
4 of
lining
them
up to push
considered
any
out of
active
control.
fires downslope
BC
toward
Wildfire
communities.
says it's too
If
soon
crews
to
are
know
prepping
if it'll be
evacuation
that
routes
year.
like the clips suggesting, they're reading the atmospheric setup as genuine risk, not precaution. This is the window where one afternoon wind shift turns a manageable fire into a structure threat scenario. The chat should be checking their go bags and their fire smart checklists today, not next week. What's up, chat? Diesel checking in, ears up, tail going. Fire season's loud. I'm louder. Let's roll. All right, CBC just wrapped this 5 days ago, and it's solid intel on what's happening across Alberta and British Columbia right now. They're on the ground showing you the actual alert situation, the conditions that have folks scrambling, and what fire officials are watching heading into the season. This is real-time context you need if you're in either province. Roll the tape.
So many animals, about 50 animals total on the property. So
Eyes up, the fire desk has the boards. "25 fires across the board right now, folks. And Connie Lake up in British Columbia is the heavyweight at 190 hectares. Good news, it's under control, which means crews got ahead of it. Webster Creek and Ferriby are both being held, 66 and 64 hectares respectively. All three are person-caused, which tells me something. We're still in that window where a spark from a campfire or equipment can blow up fast. The tail's wagging here because containment's working, but keep your eyes on overnight conditions. Cool nights help crews, wind doesn't. Stay tuned for weather coming next. All right, we're picking up where we left off on that CBC News piece from 5 days ago about Alberta and British Columbia putting communities on high alert as wildfire season ramps up. They got boots on the ground, talking to folks dealing with real evacuation risk and smoke. This is the second half. Let's get back to it. Rolling tape now. Top of the wire, take a look. What's up, chat? Diesel checking in, ears up, tail going. Fire season's loud, I'm louder. Let's roll. All right, CBC rolled this 5. Eyes up. "25 active fires across." All right, we're picking up where we left off on that CBC News piece from 5 days back. They've got boots on the ground. Story on the wire, here we go. Coming back, quick check on. All right, folks. Rain's coming hard this weekend. We're talking 15 to 25 millimeters Saturday afternoon through Sunday morning, but some areas could see way more. That's good news for fire risk, honestly. Moisture soaking the fuels buys us breathing room. But, and this is the kicker, combine that rain with the snowmelt still happening at elevation, and you've got flooding risk in valleys and creek zones. Second alert. Frost tonight. Temps dropping to freezing, so gardeners cover your stuff. Quick take. This rain cycle is a gift for fire season, but watch for water hazards in your drainage zones. Stick around. We're tracking what's moving in after the wet clears. All right, coming back to that CBC News piece we started earlier, wildfire season puts parts of Alberta and BC on alert. Posted 5 days ago and still hitting hard. This one's got on-the-ground reporting from communities dealing with active fire threat right now. Real folks, real stakes. Let's roll the tape and see what CBC found out there.
It's very concerning because we have so many animals, about 50 animals total on the property. So to get everybody rounded up and get them out of here safely, it's a big job.
Tiffany Fortin says her evacuation plan includes tagging her animals, and every wildfire season is a scare. Village officials say this may seem early for the start of it, but it isn't.
I've seen fires as early as the beginning of April. I've also seen nice and wet right through to the May long weekend. So you can't really judge, You always have to be prepared. As soon as
Ears up. Those alert levels across Alberta. Yo, Diesel here. Vest on, headset cranked, treats nowhere in sight. Welcome to the Watch Tower, folks. Let's go. All right. CBC just dropped this one 3 days ago, and it's a sharp look at what heat-driven fire season actually does to a province. Record temperatures, wildfires spinning up faster than we'd like, and water supplies getting squeezed on both ends. This is the real-world picture of why Fire Smart and Prep matter so much right now. Let's roll the tape. Let's roll the vibe.
The low snowpack is already causing concerns when it comes to the region's water supply. Metro Vancouver has banned lawn watering to preserve shrinking reservoirs, and a hot summer in the forecast means more restrictions are coming in June.
Almost a full ban on outdoor water use, so it gets quite a bit stricter. So we won't want to see people washing their cars.
At least 24 temperature records were broken across the province over the last few days, with several communities hitting above 30 degrees Celsius. Record heat and little rain means heightened wildfire
Record
risk.
heat in BC is the accelerant here. When you're talking consecutive days above seasonal normal, the fuel moisture drops fast, and fires that would normally creep become sprinters. The heat's also pushing the fire weather index into dangerous territory across the province. That's the metric that predicts fire behavior, and elevated FWI means existing fires spread harder, and new ignitions catch instantly. Water supply concerns are the second domino. Snowpacks melted early, reservoirs are lower than usual heading into summer, and if crews need to pull water for structure protection or retardant mixing, they're working with a thinner margin. This isn't just a hot day. It's a cascade that multiplies every problem at once.
Hasn't seen in more than 100 years, and the season is just...
Drop everything, folks. Diesel's Watch Tower has breaking news. Kamloops is running an actual trial on AI wildfire prevention and lightning suppression right now. This isn't theory, they're testing whether machine learning can spot fire risk patterns and maybe even mess with lightning before it touches down. Key detail, if this works, it changes the game for early detection across the whole province. We're talking prevention at scale, folks. The chat knows I'm all about stopping fires before they start, and this is the kind of forward thinking that actually saves homes. Sticking close to this one, stay tight, we'll have more as it develops. Drop everything, folks. Diesel's Watch Tower has breaking news. Tails up, ears wide, we got breaking news on the line. Hold the kibble, folks, breaking news on the wire. Heads up, breaking news straight from the Watch Tower. All right, folks, Fireboard coming up.
A fourth house was damaged, but is still standing.
It's very flammable out there. There's lots of fuel out there for any kind of fire to take off, and it just happened yesterday with a warm, slight breeze. It didn't
Diesel's on the line. 8 monitors. Welcome to the Watch Tower, folks. Let's go.
Near the top, I didn't even have to wear micro spikes today. We could just walk in hiking boots, and that's unusual for this time of year.
The snowpack in Metro Vancouver is the lowest it's been in a decade, and the record-breaking spring heat means it's melting fast.
We're at about 45% of our normal snowpack for this time of year, so would be more than double this is what we would like to see.
The low snowpack is already causing concerns when it comes to the region's water supply. Metro Vancouver has banned lawn watering to preserve shrinking reservoirs, and a hot summer in the forecast means more restrictions are coming in June.
Almost a full ban on outdoor water use, so it gets quite a bit stricter. So we won't want to see people washing their cars.
At least 24 temperature records were broken across the province over the last few days, with several communities hitting above 30 degrees Celsius. Record heat and little rain means heightened wildfire risk. There are more than 24 active fires burning across BC.
With these unseasonably hot temperatures, we're seeing that dryness kind of deeper in the ground. So that does certainly make things more challenging.
Different people will feel heat differently, and some people are more vulnerable to extreme heat than others. In terms of
this heat researcher says high spring temperatures could be a precursor to an exceptionally hot summer and is warning people to think about their safety. In 2021, more than 600 British Columbians died during a heat dome.
Where does it look like for me to cool down? Where might I be able to go stay if I have to be somewhere for a few days?
Spring temperatures that Vancouver hasn't seen in more than 100 years, and the season is just getting started.
And I've seen the planes were just taking right off. As community members and firefighters step in. Plus,
I'm committing here today to another 0% property tax increase in 2027.
Vancouver's mayor makes some pre-election promises with big price tags. And
we couldn't be happier to have this expertise, experience, and energy.
Another MP crosses the floor to join the federal Liberals. They're one seat shy of a majority with by-elections on the way.
This is CBC Vancouver News.
Hello, I'm Dan Burr. Thanks for joining us. And we start with that big shakeup in federal politics. Another MP has crossed the floor to join the federal Liberals. Marilyn Gladu has left the Conservative Party, saying her decision will benefit her constituents in Ontario. As Ashley Burke explains, the Grits are now technically one seat away from a majority.
Yet another hastily called announcement. Prime Minister Mark Carney introducing the latest addition to his growing Liberal family.
We couldn't be happier to have this expertise, experience, and energy coming to our team.
Southwestern Ontario MP Marilyn Gladu, a longtime Conservative, defecting to the Liberals team.
He's invited me to bring my experience, my talents, and my views into the large Liberal tent.
Some of those views at odds with the Liberals. Gladu opposed legalizing cannabis.
With drug-impaired driving and challenges there, the doubling of traffic deaths, and Liberals don't care.
Retracted comments questioning the seriousness of COVID-19 and need for vaccine mandates. And when she ran to lead the Conservatives, said she'd allow private members' bills to restrict abortion.
Look, we are interested in unity, not uniformity. And if you really want to unite the country, you want people with lots of different views.
This is the fifth MP to cross the floor since the fall. Laurie Idlout joining from the NDP, and now 4 Conservatives, including Gladu.
This is another blow to Pierre Poilievre.
Pollster David Coletto says it raises questions about his leadership.
Not just how he appeals to the country and to Canadians, but how he's handled his own caucus. He lost a senior staffer this week as well, and so it is that question that keeps coming up is, can he work well with others?
Poilievre online accused
pumping water from a nearby creek to saturate their property.
It's a beautiful place. Squamish has been my home. I'm born and raised in this neighborhood, so we're going to stick it out as long as we can.
The Dryden Creek wildfire was discovered late Monday in Squamish, about an hour north of Vancouver. It's burning alongside houses and a major highway linking Whistler, Squamish, and Vancouver. Estimates of the fire's size grew rapidly throughout the afternoon.
The fire in town this early in the season, you're worried about what's happening. You got a lot of hot months left, and yeah, not a lot of rain on the forecast right now.
The fire comes after days of record-breaking heat and is suspected to be caused by human activity.
Some people at night will see
A fourth house was damaged but is still standing.
It's
and hiking boots, and that's unusual for this time of year.
The snowpack in Metro Vancouver is the lowest it's been in a decade, and the record-breaking spring decade. And
There are a few areas where the snow cover is
near the top. I didn't even have to wear micro spikes today. We could just walk in hiking boots, and that's unusual for this time of year. I didn't even have to wear micro spikes today. We could just walk in hiking boots, and that's unusual for this time of year.
The snowpack in Metro Vancouver is the lowest it's been in a decade, and the record-breaking spring heat means it's melting fast.
We're at about 45% of our normal snowpack for this time of year, so would be more than double this is what we would like to see.
The low snowpack is already causing concerns when it comes to the region's water supply. Metro Vancouver has banned lawn watering to preserve shrinking reservoirs, and a hot summer in the forecast means more restrictions